Thanks for joining us today. I'm Cody Holyoke. We are a little more than 4 weeks out from November 8th, which means Heart of the Matter is in full commitment 2022 mode. We'll be ramping up our political coverage through Election Day, looking at all of the important issues and races on the ballots in our two states. The top of today's broadcast is all about who will lead the state of Kansas for the next 4 years. The latest polls show incumbent Democrat Laura Kelly with a slight lead over her Republican challenger, State Attorney General Derek Schmidt, though he's well within the margin of error. And look at the undecideds here, a crucial 8% of the vote that could swing this thing either way. It's why both candidates are working hard to make a splash with voters. This past week, we saw their last debate before Election Day.
I put politics aside and just do what's best for Kansas. It's that simple.
Kansans deserve a voice, and that the past 4 years have set so many Kansas families back.
Both candidates came to the Metro, taking the stage Wednesday in Overland Park in front of the Johnson County Bar Association, answering several questions and working to state their case for getting Kansas' top job in January. Today, we're going to spend some extra time walking you through what was said with KMBC9 political reporter Michael Mahoney, who was there Wednesday. Thanks for coming back. This debate, understandably, much more subdued than what we saw at the Kansas State Fair. A little bit more ruckus there.
Yeah, because the circumstances were so much different. That was the fair. People are encouraged to jeer, cheer, wave signs, the whole 9 yards. In this case, this is in front of a Johnson County Bar Association. A lot of people in business suits or business dresses for the women there in a hotel. People were encouraged or discouraged, really, from expressing themselves only at the beginning and the last debate. So it had a very far different tone than the one in September out at Hutchinson.
You could tell in this debate that Governor Kelly was really working to kind of feed off of the momentum we saw in the August primaries, especially when it comes to abortion, really pledging to protect that vote. Here's a bit of what she said.
We saw on August 2nd that an overwhelming majority of Kansans believe that a woman's right to make private medical decisions should rest with her and not with politicians.
Now, Attorney General Schmidt was saying that he's pro-life but would have to respect voters' decisions, but he's kind of walking a bit of a conservative tightrope right now, isn't he?
There are some restrictions that are left in Kansas law when it comes to abortion and reproductive rights. He wants to make sure, or he was pledged during that debate, that if there are now challenges on some of those remaining restrictions, that his administration would defend and try to preserve them, and he would probably have a legislature in Topeka next year that would be friendly to his ideas on that.
Do you think they propose something that would limit abortions?
I'm pretty sure they will.
All right.
I'm pretty sure they will. The interesting dynamic is, and this is being played out throughout the nation, is the Kansas effect here from that value them both a vote. It is still a major impact in the governor's race in Kansas, certainly in the Kansas 3rd district race, and others throughout the country.
You know, we've heard a lot from the Kelly camp about former Governor Sam Brownback. You've seen the ads, I'm sure, and the support he got from Derek Schmidt. Schmidt, meanwhile, was trying to hitch Laura Kelly's horse to President Biden's wagon Wednesday.
The governor doesn't want to talk about the fact that the leader of her political party, President Biden, is taking this country and affecting this state in ways that are tremendously negative, but they affect us.
No, so both candidates have a strategy here, obviously. Is this an apples-to-apples comparison, though, with Biden and Brownback? It sounds like the governor is really trying to put the past spending issues in the spotlight here in Kansas.
Yeah, absolutely. Democrats in both her race and in Sharice Davids' race are bringing up Sam Brownback's term in office, 2 terms, 8 years ago. During the debate, the surprise guest was former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who came out. He was the surrogate spokesman for Derek Schmidt, who didn't talk to reporters, but Christie did. And I asked him, I said, what about this? And his claim was, he said, when an incumbent governor doesn't have anything to talk about that's good in their record, they talk about something else. Now, Laura Kelly shot back in a post-debate interview and said, I talk about my record all the time. The reason I talk about Sam Brownback is because if Derek Schmidt is elected, we'll go back to the Brownback policies. Brownback remains sort of the 3rd person in the ring in this campaign and in the Kansas 3rd. It's a very interesting dynamic. I've never seen a former governor played this high.
Right, have so much of the airtime not running for office. What's surprising you about this race right now?
Not much, to be honest with you. It's close. I think a lot of people expected it to be close. Derek Schmidt is running against Laura Kelly. He's also running against Joe Biden. He brought up the president's name repeatedly during this debate. Laura Kelly is saying that, look, I am a middle-of-the-road governor, and that I try to work with both parties on this, and is appealing to the fact that economic development and fully funding schools are two of the big things that deserve her to be reelected.
Both candidates, safe to say, went toe-to-toe on Medicaid expansion. Governor Kelly said in the debate that she will try for a fifth time if she's elected to get this through the legislature. And then Derek Schmidt says, well, it didn't work the last 4 times. What should we expect differently here?
Yeah, exactly. And Kelly's response to that is that, you know, with me no longer going to be on the ballot if she gets a second term, then that removes some of the politics out of it. We'll see. Kansas is one of the very few states that has not expanded Medicaid in the entire nation. I think it's about a dozen states. We'll see how this goes. It'll be an uphill struggle again in a Republican legislature.
All right, I want to end on medical marijuana because it came up and we heard both candidates actually open to the idea. Here's a bit of that.
A bona fide, legitimate medical doctor ought to be able to treat and help that person with whatever substance makes the most sense.
Well, I'm glad you finally agree with me.
Interesting. Is this a change for Schmidt?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a change in the fact that he has opened the door somewhat to medical marijuana being a possibility in the state of Kansas. The legislation that has been proposed over there is very different than Missouri. In Kansas, one of them would be pill form only medical marijuana, unlike Missouri where it's flowers and it's edibles and it's gummy bears and also all sorts of very, very different. We'll see where it goes in the legislature.
But he's keeping the door open.
It's opening a bit.
All right. Well, we'll leave the door open for you for the next 5 weeks. Michael Mahoney, thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy.